So it's Rob and Mac. We're here at DistilleryLaneCiderworks. We are doing some grafting today. The first step is we are cutting some scion wood. So this is the tree that we want to reproduce. So this is a Ashmead's kernel. It's an old American variety. And you can see that the color change in the wood. This is 2-year-old wood, and this is new wood. It's sort of got this lighter color. You want to use the new wood. So we're going to take a few pieces of this off of, there's one there, Mac, off these trees. Basically, we're looking for some branches that have some nice, healthy buds on them. You can see there's one every 1.5 inches or so. This end, there's too many up here, so we'll leave this, discard this part. This is nice, healthy, 1-year growth, and we'll get some nice buds out of these, and we will graft this to the rootstocks. So we've cut our scion wood off of the tree that we want to produce. These are Ashmead's kernel trees, and we're now going to do a very simple graft. There's all sorts of different grafts, styles that you can do. We usually just sort of a basic whip and tongue graft, I would call it. First, these are our rootstocks. We buy these separately, and the rootstock just controls the size of the tree. This is a dwarfing rootstock. We're particularly fond of Geneva series dwarfing rootstocks. And we're going to take our scion wood and cut a piece. It's got maybe 4 nice buds on it. Cut a 4-inch piece on that, somewhere like that, and then put a very sharp cut onto a piece of scion wood. Being careful using a really sharp knife, and being careful not to chop off one's finger. It's pretty good. Also want to be careful not to cut the fresh wood where you've just whittled it down there, because the oil from your fingers could impede whether it takes against the scion or against the rootstock. So then I put a split in the end of the rootstock. This is again the simplest cut. Careful not to cut your finger off. Take your piece of scion wood, insert that. It's still a little bit too big in the end, so I got to whittle it down a little more. This is definitely an art and not a science. And there are definitely people who are really good at this and not. But we just do this primarily for replacement of trees that we lost over the past year due to a storm, or they had disease and we decided to pull it out. Generally, if we're buying rootstocks, we go to the commercial nurseries like Cummins Nursery in upstate New York. So what you want is the cambium, the outer bark of your piece of scion wood, to line up against the cambium or the bark on the piece of rootstock. Get a nice good fit in there. You know, take a piece of tape. You can use lots of different tapes, but basically you want something that will dissolve or come apart with time. This is a hospital tape. I've also got some freezer tape. We'll wrap it tightly because you want to seal the air from being able to get to the new graft. This is kind of a nice stretchy tape. Covers it very tightly. And then we'll take some grafting seal. It's basically a thick latex paint, and coat the tape so it's sort of an added sealant against air getting into through the tape and drying out the graft before it's had a chance to take. And also you want to get the very tip of the piece of scion wood with a little bit of paint, because otherwise it will dry out from the top down. So with any luck, I've got 3 exposed buds, usually the top one or the one next to it will pop. We'll keep this moist until probably about a month from now, when we'll plant these. That's the other key thing about this, is even if your graft fails, the rootstock will survive and will grow another year, so you can have a second bite of the apple, if you will, and try to regraft these the following year. Critical thing when you're doing grafting is to keep track of the rootstocks. For that, I buy some metal labels, crushable labels. So this is where we plant out the trees. These trees will get transplanted into the orchard in another few weeks or so. Generally, we like to do it in April, early to mid-April. These were some trees that we planted last spring. They were new grafts. This was a Wixon crabapple. You can see the remnants of yellow paint that we were putting on there. So this tree was just about this tall when we planted it out this year, and we got 4 to 5 feet of growth out of this tree in just 1 year. And so this spring, in fact this one I'll show you now, is what we're going to do. Of course these branches are a little too low. These were just shoots that came off of the tree. And what we'll do is we will head this tree right about there, and what will happen is that will force growth, the first scaffold of branches right there. So if you look at these trees next to us, these are 2-year-old trees. These were headed last year, and you can see they shot off some nice branches. So we like to have 4 branches on the first tier, and these will get transplanted into the orchard in a couple of weeks. These are Shizuka. It's a real nice Japanese apple for eating out of hand. Very sweet, big yellow apple. One thing we do when the trees start to shoot out the branches is we take these clothespins, these are the squeeze kind, and we put the clothespins on the trunk of the tree to force to keep the branch from growing in an upright growth pattern. And we prefer something that's pretty close to horizontal, just above horizontal. It's a much stronger branch, and it'll be less likely to snap off when this tree is 5 years old and full of fruit.